Good morning, grade 3 and 4. Today's Tuesday, May 5th, 2020, 5-5-20. Today in religion, you'll be reading God's People Return to Judah. And it is like the introduction to the next little section of stories that we'll be having. So remember how they were sent into captivity because of their idolatry and not following God. And now God, just as he promised, 70 years later, is going to bring them back from captivity to the promised land of Jerusalem area, to Judah, and the temple will be rebuilt. And the next stories will talk all about that. You have a memory treasure to tell me today. And then continue to work on your Mother to Tigers packet. Remember, the packet needs to be done all in cursive, okay? 4th grade, this is your handwriting. So cursive writing for all of that. It's a good way to practice your spelling words as well, which you have a spelling pretest today. And then another epic book to read today. At the beginning of our week, our stories are kind of about how animals help people. And then at the end of the week, we're going to talk about how people help animals in our stories, okay? For grade 3, you have just a review sheet to do on estimating area. So a real quick review on that. And for 4th graders, we'll be going through lesson 115 in just a few moments here. Keep working on your junior park ranger packets. I'd like those to be finished by next Monday, but if you need a little bit of extra time, just let me know, okay? And then you're going to continue your Wisconsin Studies Weekly work. We're going into the new century, and I posted an assignment on Google Classroom for you to do. I actually meant to schedule it for 8 o'clock this morning, but when I was working last night, I hit assign instead of schedule. So you may have seen it already pop up. It's nothing that you needed to do last night, but you need to read what will life be like in 100 years? And then I pose a question for you, a couple questions for you to answer, and use complete sentences, write paragraphs. It's certainly what you think and feel about things, but it's telling that something is going to happen in 100 years, and we see evidence of that happening already right now, okay? 80 years before they predicted it happening. Wow, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? So I want you to really think about that. And then we have a test tomorrow on that, and then we'll start our next page and then also have your letter to work on. If you have any questions on how to do any of your work, of course, give me a call or send me a message and I'll be more than happy to help you, okay? So for my 3rd graders, that's it for you. And if my 4th graders, if you don't already have it, have your hardcover math book and a piece of paper and a pencil, and let's go through our lesson today. Guess what? We're working on fractions again. Go figure, huh? All right, I'm going to switch to my other camera. Make sure if you need to get those things, you pause the video and then come on back over. Okay, so we're going to be talking about renaming fractions. Now, guess what? You've already been doing this. Anytime you give an equivalent fraction, that's another name for that same fraction. But in some work that we have to do for fractions, you have to have the same denominator. And so that's what this lesson is helping us get ready to do. So let's take a look at example 1 in the book on page 726. It says, find the equivalent fraction for 1/4 whose denominator is 12. And so you think about, all right, if I have 1/4, what would I have to multiply that by to get a denominator of 12? Well, we can think, what times 4 gives me 12? 3. And then you know this has to be a fraction for 1, so you have to have a 3 on top. So 1/4 times 3/3 equals how many twelfths? 3 twelfths. Okay, and that n equals 3. All right, let's take a look at complete the equivalent fraction. 2/3 equals question mark 15. So 2/3. And what I'd like you to do instead of a question mark, I'd like you to leave a little space and equals n 15ths. Now the reason we want to have a little space there, oh, I changed my mind. 2/3 equals n 12ths. My eraser doesn't work very well. So write your equation first. Changed my mind. Write your equation. Now over here, we're going to do our work. So, oh, and I did 12ths instead of 15ths. Mrs. Stolt better pay attention. Good thing I caught it. Were you hollering at me? 2/3 equals n/15ths. So then over here, 2/3 times what will equal blank 15ths? Well, I know that 3 times 5 gives me 15, and I have to have a fraction for 1, so I need a 5 on top. 2/3 times 5 over 5, 10/15ths. So what's my numerator? That's where the n was. N equals 10. N equals 10. I'm looking for this number, right? Okay, so just a little process of how I want you to do these equations. Let's try our practice together so we practice how I want you to do it. So here's A. We have 1/4 equals n/12ths. Remember, we're going to put an n instead of the question mark. Now we do our work. 1/4 times what, whoops, equals n/12ths. See if my eraser will work there. All right, well, I know that if to get to 12 from 4, I have to multiply by 3. Okay, 4 times 3 gives me 12. So I'm going to have to put a 3 here. And what would my number be here then? 3. So what does n equal? N equals 3. Let's try B. 2/3 equals n/12ths. We do our work. 2/3 times what gives me blank 12ths. I know that 3 times 4 gives me 12, so I'm going to put a 4 here and a 4 here. So 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 4 is 8, and my answer, n equals 8. Catching on? Let's try C. 5/6 equals n/12ths. Boy, we got a lot of ones with the denominator of 12 here, don't we? We do our work. 5/6 times what is going to equal so many 12ths? 6 times 2 gives me 12. So then I put a 2 on top. 5 times 2 gives me 10. What's my answer here? N equals 10. My numerator is 10. That's why I chose n. N for numerator. All right. Try D on your own. Give you a few seconds here yet. If you're not finished, feel free to pause the video, but here's the answer. 3/5 equals n/10ths this time. I do my work. 3/5 times what is going to give me some tenths? 5 times 2. So my fraction for 1 is going to be 2/2. 3 times 2 is 6. So n equals 6. Good job. 2 more to go. E. 2/3 equals how many ninths? We do our work. 3 times what is going to give me 9? 3. So my fraction for 1 is 3/3. 2 times 3 is 6. So again, on this one, n equals 6. Last one. 3/4 equals how many eighths? N/8. We do our work. Four times 2 is going to give me 8. So 2/2. 3 times 2 is 6. N equals 6. How about that? All right. There is your practice for today. Back to me. All right, so nothing too hard. Please make sure you're reading carefully as you're doing your math. Do what they're asking you to do. If they're asking you to simplify or reduce or find an equivalent fraction, read carefully so that you know exactly what to do, okay? And if you have any questions, make sure you give me a holler. All right, tomorrow is a test day. Yay! No new words from Mrs. Stolt. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the day.